if you look at the responses, now number 2 priority from my audience was human profiling in the air era. And this is very heartening for me because it means that people are starting to realize that you don't just go and do whatever has a high demand. You simply start from yourself. And what are some of the natural skills, the natural things that you want to do? So for me, it's like, for me, of course, we talk about human profiling. There are lots of different ways. And obviously, if you ask me, the best is astrology, my favorite, because it really gets down to people as individuals. You're not an INTJ or you're not like a high D, low I. It's not as simple as that. It's a very complex system. But I think what people really want to ask themselves is like, who are the people who are natural activists? And activist doesn't mean that you go and take a picket sign and then you go and like protest on the streets. And activists can do this on YouTube. You can do this by writing articles. You can do this by being an advocate in your industry, by training people to recognize what needs to be done. But you're the guy with the loudspeaker. Hey guys, like we need to look at this problem. So who are natural activists? And if you don't get to do activism in your work, you're going to be miserable. And what's the difference between an activist and somebody who is a bit more of a threat a threat spotter? People who work in the meteorological services, who watch out for tsunamis and watch out for earthquakes. Now, those people can find meaning in their work. They look at patterns, they see something wrong, they will alert everybody. And who are the ones who are realizing that there are threats on the internet? And they do this to protect the kids. They protect businesses and people's interests. So can you find meaning in your work? Absolutely. But it really depends on how the activist and this watchman guy is a totally different profile. And also, you get people who don't want to be part of that at all. Who are the ones with the big hearts? They really are the empaths. You know, these are people who want to help the broken kittens. They want to help broken humans also to cope with life and trauma and counseling and all that stuff. So the thing is, how most people don't even have a basic understanding of their own profiling. And I think we've all been squeezed into that box where we are all the same. It's just copy and paste. Such that this idea of starting from you and what is natural for you and that you could be happy and very good at what you do is a complete topic that nobody's really talked about. And this is why, I mean, rather than me telling you this theoretically, and I think I want to show you the real life examples where this has actually happened. And if you are going to make your plans in 2022, maybe some of these people can show you what is possible. And some of these people achieved it in their little transformation from employee to whatever they're doing in a year, 2 years, some even less. My first example is Miss Cheyenne. She was recently featured on Channel News Asia because she has ADHD. But the thing is, she was born in those years where people don't know much about all these learning disorders. So for her, this article covered her experience, but what I thought the article didn't cover a lot of was what Cheyenne was doing for other people who had ADHD. So having gone through the difficulties herself, she's now offering the kind of coaching for the youngsters. So this is Cheyenne's chart. And I know most of you don't read astrology, so I'll tell you what I see from the chart. Now, first of all, what she discovered in class was that her natural work was to coach people on a one-on-one thing. And she also had to understand who her natural audience was. She's not going to be effective coaching everyone. There's a specific group of people who are young, they're entrepreneurial. But the thing is, because of the ADHD issues, there's a lot of these self-value issues. They don't feel like they fit in with most people. And there are problems dealing with acceptance by other people. And she understands that because she's been through it as an ADHD person. So her dominant personality is very relationship oriented. And in fact, her relationship is not the YouTube kind. Her relationship is a one-on-one kind of situation. So she went and designed her entire career around it. Now today, Cheyenne, when I first got to know Cheyenne, she had just come out of a civil service job. And she liked to tell people that I was neither civil nor servant. And she absolutely did not fit into the civil service at all. But today, what she does is coaching a lot of these youngsters. They have trouble fitting it at work. A lot of these are at school also. They are sometimes 16, 17 years old. But a lot of these kids already have their own businesses. So there's a very specific group of people. And she's teaching them how to connect with people, how to do make practical decisions, and it's been amazing. In fact, I have asked her for her handles, like her IG and Telegram and whatever. And seriously, I mean, she's really, really good at this. She also helps business owners to deal with hyper tensions in their company when they have mutinies and crises within the company. She's very good at easing the relationships, and I thought I'm amazed at what she's managed to accomplish in 2 years or less. So her top profiles, so that's my tool that I use. Her top profiles are the curator and the transactor. So her real specialty is in looking at people's value, and she's done a fantastic job building a career about that. I want to feature another person. His name is Joel Low. And when Joel first came into our class, like he was in a space where he was a bit confused about where the next direction was. Joel had been involved in productions. He's an actor. But I think at the time when he showed up, he had a lot of problems with articulating some problems. Like he would be on set and he wouldn't agree with certain things. And it's very hard to find a way to explain to the authority figure why I don't agree, or there are a lot of miscommunications. So when he first came in, one of the things that he discovered from his chart was that he didn't have a voice, and he struggled with that. And what he realized was that perhaps his real career was in helping the people who didn't have a voice, and he showed them how to use the voice. Joe has a trained voice. He's an actor and he's a singer. So with all that training, instead of training people to be like Singapore's top idol, he was training corporate people how to speak up, how to be confident, to sing songs and to be confident with the sound of your voice so that you can speak up in the workplace. And it's turned out to be a lot more than just a singing class. It's about a confidence and a self-value class. So these are just some examples. He said, I knew I wanted to help people overcome their fear of expressing themselves freely through their voices. Who cares whether you're a good singer or not? You have to use your voice. And this is just another example of the classes that he's teaching. He might have started with very small classes, just 1 or 2 people. And now Joel has much larger classes, as you can see here. And these are not like, they're not like poor, broken people. A lot of these are professionals. They are doing well, but they're not using their voice. And from what I can see here, Joel has called his practice Unlock Your Voice. And that's great. And you can see people are open and willing to share personal struggles that they have with their voice. I hope you agree with me. This is a lot more than just a singing class. And this is Joel's chart. And he's informed me that if you know yourself or anybody else who wants to get in touch with that, you can contact him directly. On Instagram, I'm Joel Low. Then, but for him, his self-expression, ultimately he's a teacher. So when he came in, he was an actor, and I don't think he had his full self-expression as an actor. What he wanted to do was to teach other people. And he wanted to teach people about imagination, artistry, expression. And in fact, his greatest contribution was helping those people who are disadvantaged or overlooked or who don't have a voice. That's what he got from his chart. And that his top profiles were the romantic for the artist, and the administrator for being able to put ideas together, and the empath for realizing that there are people who are broken and that we don't start with the hard stuff first, we start with the heart stuff first. And that's what Joel has done. His transformation, I think, what I saw was that he made this happen in a year, 2 years or less. And right now, he's been doing this for some time now. And Joel is one of the students I'm extremely proud of. And when Jeremy Tan first came to us, he was still in school, still an NUS undergraduate. And he did say at the time that he wanted to be an astrologer, and he wanted to help people with things. But it was very hard to articulate like exactly who did you want to help and how do you get good at what you do. So, but today, Jeremy Tan, he's definitely finished school for some time now. And in fact, he's embarked onto this career early part of 2021. So he's been full-time for an entire year now. And look at that website. So that clarity of purpose, knowing fully well that he specializes in trauma and purpose. So that's something that he's done fantastically. And I want to show you his chart. Okay, so and also you can get in touch with him via Instagram. His business is called Sacred Saturn, or you can visit him on his website also. But what Jeremy got from his chart was an understanding that even if you become an astrologer, your customer isn't everybody. You can't help everyone. But his specialty here was really about people who had very specific insecurities and fears about relationships. Mostly your romantic relationships. But I think he started to move into the traumas that people have with their parents, with siblings. And as long as there was a self-acceptance issues, he was helping people with that. And you know what? Jeremy Tan has been doing this full-time for an entire year. And he, at no point did he ever say that, yeah, I'm panicking and maybe I should go back to my day job. Hasn't happened. So that's why a lot of people think that if they go and pursue what it is that they really want to do, they think that they're going to starve and die. And I think what's important is to get back and see, are you doing what you are really good at? Because if you start your own practice and you starve and die, good chance that you're not very good at what you do. So that's the main thing, is to be very good first. And I think that's what Jeremy Tan had discovered about his journey also. And his dominant personality is a combination. He is a Taurus, and that means he has a lot of that practicality and structure. So although he's a spiritual practitioner, like me, I'm a Taurus too, and we don't talk about all the woo-woo stuff, and we don't ask you to pray to some goddess or something, nothing like that. But it's really applying what we understand so that people can use it in a practical manner. But he has something that I don't have, which is that he has a lot more empathy and a lot more spirituality. So he's able to sit down with people who are really broken and to help them through whatever it is that they're going through. And his top profiles, his number one profile is the caretaker. And he also has the teacher. So he may not teach classes like I do, but his teaching is more of like on a coaching and a consultancy kind of basis. I think he's done a great job. I'm also extremely proud of Jeremy Tan. Now, Tonya is right now in training to become a professional astrologer. And Tonya came from the banking industry. So somebody who was dealing with the operations, the back end, she understood the corporate grind. And for her, it was a real leap of faith, because how do you walk away from all that structure, knowing fully well what's to be done? And as a new entrepreneur, you have to decide what happens tomorrow. So it's that creativity in coming up with stuff. So she's gone and started with her workshops. Maybe the first few workshops, there were very few people, just like my first few workshops, just like Joel Lowe's first few workshops, and then it grows. So the right-hand side was a workshop that she did very recently, in December, just last month, to help people use the tools that she's teaching them to review and to renew their life. So in a way, she's also doing what I'm doing for you guys on the 8th of January. That means, what are the new goals that you can set for yourself after a reflection on your life? So she's doing it in her own way, and I'm proud of what Tonya has started. So you can get in touch with her. She's Tonya, the Business Alchemist. You can do that on Instagram or Facebook. These are real people, and I didn't make these people up. They're really doing it. And a lot of them, her transformation tool, I think, took, honestly, from the time she quit until now, I would say it's less than 2 years. And her purpose is to coach a lot of these high achievers. They're successful in their career, they have conventional jobs, and they're not taking that step. So while I do it in a group setting, Tonya is better on a more intimate setting, smaller workshops and smaller coaching. And she does, her natural work is to get to the root of what is the imbalance. Tonya is a very Libra person. So she understands when somebody is out of balance, and they're just simply identifying where the imbalance is, and they do practical things to address it. Tonya's top profiles are the philosopher and the genius. So for her, it's really getting to a big picture story, and even dealing with people with very weird ideas, because she specializes in soulpreneurs, people who want to combine a spirituality and well-being together with their businesses. So it's some of it is like it doesn't really fit into our Earth era corporate kind of environment. So the profile, the genius, helps her to relate to some of the more crazier ideas, which may sound crazy, but really isn't at all. Derek Chu. Now, I talk about Derek a lot. And for me, Derek, when he first came to our classes, he was a theatre producer who was very lost at the time because COVID happened. And it meant that people couldn't buy tickets, they couldn't go to a theatre. And for him, it's like, I'm in an industry where everyone is looking at each other and going like, die, say, we're not going to survive this period. And so for him, when he first came in, I'll be honest with you, he was very, at first it came from a self-centered placement, because can I survive or not? How to make money during this period? But you see, once he got into his chart, he realized that the vision was bigger than that. He felt that it was an entire industry that was being threatened by the changes in the air era. So when he decided to embark onto his new projects, the purpose was not about necessarily his own survival. It was that, but also realizing that we need to show the whole industry how we can maybe do things differently. Because if we don't, we will all going to die. So he came up with a hybrid. And he thought about how can we make theatre still relevant to the young generation. And suddenly he realized interactivity, online, digital, that having people be able to determine outcomes is key to that. So he created a series of these, well, I'm not really sure what you call them. They are like hybrid theatre and gaming experiences. So people buy a ticket, they go online. They get to determine the outcome of the story, a bit like a choose your own adventure. They get to guess who's the murderer. And on top of that, a lot of it is very localized, and he got to educate people about the stories about Old Changi Hospital, the horrors. Then he did it during the Halloween period. And then the curious case of the missing Peranakan treasure was filmed in Raffles Hotel. And so it became a heritage thing. A lot of people were very proud of the beautiful hotel that it was filmed in. It was a great story too. So, and Derek works with a team because unlike some of the other guys who started their own practice and they run as one-man show, Derek understands that when you want to do things on a larger scale, there's no way he's going to act direct and do makeup all by himself. So he's got a fantastic team. And knowing astrology also means that you get to profile everyone on the team and making sure that each person is bringing to the team what is natural for them and what makes sense for people to respect that another person may not be very good at this and maybe they need to do something else instead. So for Derek, what he discovered was that it's the natural work that he does is to manage the material resources. He's not so good at writing the story, and he's maybe not that great of an actor. He maybe not that great with makeup also, but he's very good at the production thing. So all these artists who don't know how to count money, he's the one who does the money counting. But it is done so that the production gets to continue. And also his personal purpose is that he wanted to broadcast, he wanted to promote the creative culture and also roots to get Singaporeans to realize that we live in a country with Peranakan culture and ghost culture and whatever it is. So for him, his top profiles are the teacher and the activist. So although he doesn't teach class per se, he still does every now and then. But for him, the activism comes from the fact that we need to highlight a lot of these issues. We need to get people thinking about stuff. And I thought he's been great. I think he's the most featured person in all my webinars because I think what he's done is wow. And although he started in theatre and he's still in theatre, but that transformation, that 2-year journey, I think he's come up with something like 6 to 7 productions in that 2 years. So for people who are sort of waiting someday, one day you're going to quit your job, well, in that 2 years, he's produced seven theatre productions. And I think, wow, and they're all digital, all hybrid. Now, this is an example of someone who didn't make a career change. Jeremy still works for self-astrology, but for him, what he wanted to change was this idea of there's a lot of trash out there in the world. Jeremy is an Aquarius, and he's very much of a humanitarian. And he wanted to educate people about what we are doing to our natural environment. So what he did was he started a Telegram group called Kayaking Cleanups, and you can see on the right-hand side. So Jeremy it started with him going kayaking, and he would bring a couple of his friends along. So 3 or 4 guys would go on, and they're not there for fun. As they're kayaking on the Singapore River, they're picking out all the trash. So I think he took a few selfies and then they posted online. And it seemed that other people were very interested in his movement also. So he said, okay, let's start a Telegram group. And then every time he goes for a kayaking cleanup, he will post it on the Telegram chat. And the funny thing was, absolute strangers, people who don't even know who is he, they would all go sign up and they will meet him at the kayaking place. And then all these strangers will pick up trash, and after that they go eat lunch together, and then they make friends. And none of it was ever about dollars or money. There wasn't fees to be paid, there was nothing. So that was and you can see some pictures of him and all these volunteers who come out of nowhere. They're just regular Singaporean people who believe in his vision. So that's Jeremy's chart. And of course, if you'd like to be part of his kayaking cleanups, COVID is going to ease up shortly, so he will resume his kayaking cleanup soon. And if you want to be part of that, go join his Telegram group, right? And so his dominant personality is that he will take a logical problem-solving approach. So that all these matters of our home environment, foundations, this is natural for Jeremy. And his natural audience are people who are very humanitarian. They're very community-minded. And they are aware that there are a lot of broken situations, and we want to solve the problem. It's that simple. And then for him, his top profiles is the humanitarian and the caretaker.